Understanding the void of coarse moon. You may have never heard of the void of coarse moon, but it still does affect your life to an extent. The moon is a huge part of our daily cosmic scene in the realm of astrology. It rules over our vulnerabilities and instincts, our feelings and emotions, and the way we feel nurtured, secure and safe. As the moon moves through the 12 zodiac signs during its 28 days cycle, the moon takes on the energies of all these signs and starts coloring our moods and attitudes with the signs' qualities. Its meaning can at times get a little bit convoluted. Understanding the power and meaning of a void of coarse moon will be helpful even though you might not know exactly what it means. You've felt its effects, repeatedly. So let's start with the basics. What is a void of coarse moon? In its simplest terms, a void of coarse moon describes a short period before our moon moves into the next sign during which it does not form any essential meetups with any of the other ruling planets. The duration of this respite for all the moon's ruling intensities that come along with the planet's journey through the zodiac. In astrology, the moon, as well as the sun, are counted as ruling planets. With that in mind, are you in a brain fog? In need of getting another nap even though you got a good night's sleep? Or are you feeling unproductive? If you answered yes to any of these, then you may just be able to blame all your problems on the void of coarse moon. What it means when the moon is void of course. The moon spends approximately 2 days in each one of the 12 sun signs while traveling through the natal chart. It takes around 28 days, which is a full moon cycle, to complete its movement through all 12 zodiac signs. As it moves through the zodiac wheel, it forms aspects with other major ruling planets from time to time. Aspects are simply the angles in astrology charts that are repeatedly formed between planets. Remember, the moon is counted as a planet, and all these angles represent different sorts of relationships. We have hard aspects which usually result in tensions and challenges between energies of the planets involved, and we also have soft aspects which are more harmonious in nature and easier. Since the moon moves too fast through all the 12 sun signs, it is the fastest moving of all ruling planets in astrology. It will constantly form aspects with the other planets, which will, in turn, ignite its powers and affects our energy levels, our emotions, our moods, and more. Then once the moon completes its final aspect to another ruling planet with a specific sign's realm, it gets considered void of course until it reaches the next zodiac sign. This also marks the period when the moon is all on its own, floating through the zodiac wheel without any influence from the other planets which are usually there to bounce their energies off of the moon. This is why during a void of course moon, we tend to feel hazy, scatterbrained, and a little lost. Thanks to how often the moon creates aspects to other planets, the moon does not end the void of course until it has reached the last degree of the sun sign's realm of the zodiac and moves into another one. That means that the void will usually last a few hours or even less sometimes. Occasionally, the stars get to align so we have an entire day under the influence of a void of course moon. These will make for slightly dizzy periods that are not productive. One of the many things the moon rules are people in groups, the masses, personal patterns, instincts, habits, and daily routines. It guides both conscious and unconscious habits we've created so we can smoothly get through life. Well, now that we know the moon goes through this cosmic break time, how does it affect the masses? When the moon, which rules our daily routines, goes on break, then so do we. Notice how things that were previously extremely important get pushed to the side as new ideas get moved to the forefront of our consciousness. There will be an actual changing of gears when the moon changes signs. I am trying to make this as comprehensive as possible. It is sort of like the manual transmission of a car. there will be a time when everything will be between gears in neutral so the gear can change. That is the period what we refer to as the void of coarse moon. The thing you have to remember is that there are a lot of things that will go wrong when the moon is void, but there are even more situations with a high likelihood of turning out better. During the void of coarse moon, you shouldn't start a project, close a deal, make plans, or sign a contract. As a general rule of thumb, if you wanted to start something you expected to have a concrete, real-world result, then you should at least postpone starting, signing, or sealing it. Ventures never gets off the ground or ends up having so many setbacks and problems that you realize it was all pointless in the end. If you're planning on traveling or even happen to arrive at your destination during the void of coarse moon, be prepared your plans may be altered unexpectedly, and you'll be forced to throw your itinerary out of the window. The moves executed during a void of coarse moon will likely hit unexpected difficulties, but the void is a short time, so you can, instead, use it to just plan ahead. Things that you purchase during a void of coarse moon either end up not being used or somehow won't be right. Other times, you won't find what you were looking for in the first place. So, for instance, if you visit the store for grocery shopping, I suggest you stick to the basics and do not try new items or start looking for special goods. Chances are you either won't find what you're looking for or whatever you buy will end up getting thrown out because it won't be consumed. Expect to forget a lot of essentials like bread or milk, and be sure you carefully count your change and closely look at the cash register receipt. Them little, silly mistakes are very common during the void of coarse moon. Worse, even frustrations and delays start running higher than normal. What about at work during a void moon? I suggest you stick to your routine and ensure you do not try new, strange stuff that could end up getting in your way. If you create plans around the void moon or plan meetings during this period, then you can expect to face mutual misunderstandings. Most of the time, these misunderstandings will end up playing out in your favor. This is also a time that you're likely to get lost, even in familiar neighborhoods. The tendency to lose objects that you last remember placing in plain sight. I know this hits close to home for most of us. You will put something away and forget about it later, making it lost. You will most likely find it immediately after the void moon. Unfortunately, losing things doesn't just apply to objects in this period, it applies to information as well. You'll tend to read something or have a conversation but end up forgetting about it. You may decide to clean your house, do the dishes, or do laundry during the void of coarse moon, but you'll probably not get to finish due to distractions or interruptions. Your willpower and resolve will be less strong. Here is a better explanation. There will be a prevalent feeling of what no one knows won't hurt me. If you succumb to these temptations, be prepared to make up for it and pay the price when the moon moves to the next zodiac sign. If you're planning on dropping a huge bombshell but end up having fewer repercussions in the long run, then during the void of coarse moon is the period to do it. I also have a perfect example of this. Remember that flawed president, President Reagan, who was never blamed for any single bad thing? Well, that is because he was extremely careful to ensure that he scheduled those presidential conferences during void moons. I'm speaking of the news conferences where he was required to answer all the hard questions about all the nasty controversies that had plagued his term. There were interesting discussions, questions, and answers, but the following day, nothing essential was even said on TV or paper. The entire topic was simply glossed over, dropped, or forgotten, and no one even noticed. The void of coarse moon was President Reagan's flaw. Better yet, even in August 1988, when his wife, Nancy Reagan, admitted on live TV, at the Republican National Convention with Dan Rather, that they had used the void of coarse moon to get out of trouble. No one cared or noticed. I'll agree, this is one of those instances that make astrologers tear out their hair. Now, on the flip side, when President Reagan had wonderful news that he knew would make him look like a great president, he was always careful to make sure that he did not hold the press conferences during the void of coarse moon. This always gave him maximum notice and credit. He is known to have used a whole lot of other astrological tricks during his presidency, but the easiest and biggest he admitted to was the void of coarse moon. To conclude, void moons are great for spiritual, subjective, and non-material issues, like meditation, sleep, psychotherapy, parties, play, yoga, and prayer. Creativity takes unplanned detours and directions. And when the moon is no longer void, your habit and routine will go back to proceeding smoothly, but make sure you fine-tune them accordingly to adjust for the one-day slowdown. As you can see, understanding the void of coarse moon can help you turn the duration to your advantage and make it work wonders for you. I am sure you know that there is a fifth dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone. That's the signpost up ahead, your next stop, the Twilight Zone. I threw that in for laughs.